I slow my car to a crawl as I approach my parents' Buckhead driveway. My fingers tightening around the steering wheel. 6 months. It's been 6 months since I last subjected myself to this particular form of torture. The brick colonial looks exactly the same. Immaculate landscaping, pristine shutters, and that overwhelming sense of judgment radiating from every window. Taking a deep breath, I park behind my father's Mercedes and check my reflection in the rear-view mirror. Perfect makeup, not a hair out of place. The armor is secure. Inside the foyer smells of furniture polish and my mother's expensive perfume. I follow the sounds of bustling activity to the dining room where Celeste Walker fusses over the placement of sterling silver serving spoons. "Celeste, you're here," she says, glancing up briefly. Not a hug, not even a proper greeting, just acknowledgement of my existence. "Would you put the water glasses out? Your father's almost done with the brisket." I nod and move toward the china cabinet, taking in the room as I do. Family photos line the walnut sideboard, mostly Preston in various poses of achievement. Preston at Harvard graduation. Preston receiving some finance award. Preston shaking hands with the mayor. There's exactly one photo of me tucked in the corner from high school graduation. Dad appears from the kitchen, carving knife in hand, his face flushed with pride. Sunday. "Brisket's almost ready," he announces, not directly addressing me. He's wearing his Kiss the Cook apron, a Father's Day gift from Preston years ago. "Smells wonderful." I lie. Arthur Walker's brisket is notoriously dry. A family tradition no one dares mention. Mom circles the table a third time, adjusting the napkins. "Preston should be here any minute. He texted that he's running a bit late. Something about a call with Tokyo." Of course Preston is allowed to be late, the Golden Boys. Time is valuable. As if summoned by his name, the front door swings open and Preston's booming voice fills the house. "Hello, family." He strides into the dining room, wearing a tailored navy suit that probably cost more than my first month's rent. Even on Sunday, he dresses like he's heading to a board meeting. Mom's face lights up. There he is. She rushes to hug him while Dad claps him on the shoulder. "Sorry I'm late," Preston says, loosening his tie. "Had to wrap up some details on that Kensington acquisition." Dad beams. "That's my boy, always closing deals." We settle around the table. Dad at the head, Mom to his right, Preston to his left, and me facing an empty wall. Dad attacks his brisket with the carving knife while Mom passes dishes with the precision of someone who's hosted 1,000 Sunday dinners. So Preston Dad says, serving him the best cut. "How's life treating Atlanta's financial wonder?" Preston laughs, accepting the plate with a nod. "Can't complain. Just closed another round of funding. 8 figures. He takes a bite of brisket, chewing thoughtfully. "Actually, I've been looking at some real estate." Mom perks up. "Oh, where West paces. There's a modern place just listed. 5.2, 2 million floor-to-ceiling windows, floating staircase, the works." He gestures with his fork. "Perfect bachelor pad." Dad whistles low. "That's prime territory. I've got a viewing on Tuesday." Preston cuts into his meat. "Should be able to make an offer by the end of the week." Mom and Dad exchange proud glances. I push food around my plate, the dry brisket sticking in my throat. "How about you?" Celeste Mom asks, almost as an afterthought. "How's that little online shop of yours?" I take a sip of water. "Actually, I've been house hunting too." The silence lasts exactly 2 seconds before all 3 of them burst into laughter. "Good one, sis," Preston says, wiping his mouth with a napkin. Dad's face shifts from amusement to concern. "Your little online store is cute, Celeste, but it's a hobby." "Time for a real job, Arthur," Mom murmurs, but there's no real protest in her voice. Preston leans back in his chair, the smug smirk I've known my entire life firmly in place. "Stick to your trinkets, sis. Leave the big moves to the adults." I say nothing. My face carefully blank. In fact, Preston continues reaching for his wine. I'm looking at pouring capital into a new e-commerce player, Modern Hearth. That's the future. They're going to crush all the little hobby stores. The memory hits without warning me at 20. Clutching a 5-page business plan I'd spent weeks perfecting, standing nervously in Dad's study. What do you think? I'd asked, hope ballooning in my chest. Dad had skimmed it for 30 seconds before patting my head. Cute sweetheart. Meanwhile, Preston just landed Goldman Sachs. That night, I'd made a silent vow never to share my dreams with them again. What followed were years of cold garage nights at 2:00 a.m., packing boxes myself, the crushing blow of losing my $50,000 life savings to a supplier who disappeared overnight, working 3 separate jobs to rebuild while maintaining the fiction that my business was just a cute side project. Back in the present, Mom pushes a store-bought peon pie toward me. Have some dessert, dear. You're looking thin. I smile. The shield I built years ago firmly in place. The smile doesn't reach my eyes, but they never notice. They never do. If they only knew that the perennial house cleared $35 million last year, that the Trinkets Preston mocks are featured in design magazines and celebrity homes, that my hobby employs 47 people who actually respect me. I should get going, I say, standing up. Work tomorrow. Preston snorts. Playing store. Meanwhile, we'll be talking real business. Mom follows me to the door, pressing a foil-wrapped package into my hands. Leftovers, since you probably don't cook much. 2. I accept them with the same practiced smile, say the expected pleasantries, and escape to my car. My hands tremble slightly on the steering wheel as I pull away from their house. For the first time in years, something inside me shifts a clarity I haven't allowed myself before. Enough, I whisper to the empty car. I reach for my phone and dial Ree. How was family dinner? His familiar voice asks. No preamble needed. Preston wants to buy a house on West Paces, $5.2 million. Reese is silent for a moment. And I want it. The words taste like freedom. The house, yes. And everything else they think I can't have. I can hear his smile through the phone. It's about time. It's time they learned what Trinkets can build, I say, ending the call as the road ahead opens up before me. The perennial house, headquarters, doesn't look like a hobby business. It looks like success. On Monday morning, Reese Thornton stands at the floor-to-ceiling windows of Celeste's downtown Atlanta office, surveying the empire she's built. Modern white furniture contrasts with vibrant accent pieces from their latest collection. Elegant home goods, candles, vases, throw pillows are artfully displayed on floating shelves. Each item a silent rebuke to anyone who ever called them trinkets. He turns back to his desk where quarterly reports tell the real story. Consistent growth, profit margins that would make Preston weep, and projections that point skyward. 8 figures, not a hobby, an empire. The wall behind Reese's desk showcased what Celeste never showed her family. Framed magazine covers featuring the Perennial House Products Industry Awards and press clippings. Home Entrepreneur of the Year, 30 Under 30, Retail Disruptors. The Future of Home Goods. The elevator doors slide open, and Celeste walks in, still dressed in the outfit from dinner. Her expression has hardened from this careful neutrality she wore at her parents' table to something sharper, more focused. How bad was it? Ree asks, though he already knows. Preston's buying a house on West Paces, $5.2 million. She drops her purse on a nearby chair. They laughed when I said I was house hunting too. Of course they did. Ree has never met the Walkers, but he's heard enough over the years to despise them. A staffer approaches with fabric swatches, hesitates when she sees Celeste's expression, then continues forward anyway. Sorry to interrupt, but the Milan samples just arrived. I thought you'd want to see them right away. Celeste's demeanor softens. Thank you, Amber. She takes the swatches, runs her fingers over them approvingly. These are perfect for spring. Schedule a meeting with production tomorrow. Amber nods and leaves. The brief interaction speaks volumes. Respect, not condescension. Trust, not doubt. 5 years. Ree says, returning to their conversation. 5 years we've been building this, and they still think you're playing store. Celeste walks to the windows, looking out at the Atlanta skyline. You know what kills me? Preston mentioned investing in Modern Hearth, our biggest competitor. Reese winces. That's exactly. Celeste turns to face him. He's trying to crush my business without even knowing it's mine. Reyes remembers when he first met Celeste. He was a jaded consultant. She was a determined woman with a vision. When she offered him the COO position, everyone told him he was crazy to leave his 6F-figure salary for a startup. Everyone except Celeste. The house on West Paces Reyes says slowly, "You want it, I can afford it." She states this as fact, not boast easily. Reyes leans against his desk. But what happens when they find out? When Preston realizes his little sister outbid him, Celeste walks to the far wall, where their company vision board displays their 5-year plan. Her fingers trace over the projected growth charts, the planned product lines, the international expansion targets. I've spent years protecting their feelings. "Ree, I'm done." Ree watches her, noticing the shift. This isn't the hurt daughter from dinner. This is the CEO who built an 8-figure business from nothing. The woman who lost her life savings to a scammer and clawed her way back without complaint. This isn't about revenge. She continues, her voice steady. It's about recognizing my own worth. By hiding my success, I've been enabling their dismissal. "You don't owe them anything," Ree reminds her. "No, but I owe myself this." She turns, clarity replacing confusion in her eyes. If Preston wants that house as a symbol of success, let him find another symbol. This one's mine. Reyes nods, already reaching for his laptop. "Let me pull up the listing." Hours later, they're still in the conference room. Coffee cups litter the table. Ree has his sleeves rolled up, tie loosened as he scrolls through property details. "Good news," he announces. "It hasn't gone to contract yet. And the selling agent is Mary Holbrook. We donated to her charity auction last year. I can get us a viewing tomorrow." Celeste studies the architectural renderings on screen. Modern lines, walls of glass, floating staircase. Everything Preston described at dinner. The 5.2 million modern on West Paces. She says each word deliberate. The one Preston wants. Buy it all cash. Ree grins, the excitement of battle in his eyes. "It's time, Celeste. Let's show them what Trinkets can build." They spend another hour planning the details. The purchase will be through a LLC to keep her name off public records. The closing will be expedited. They'll submit paperwork before Preston can make his offer. For a moment, as Ree outlines the strategy, doubt flickers across Celestia's face. "This will change everything with my family." "Maybe that's overdue," Ree says gently. Celeste nods, the doubt replaced by determination. She signs the preliminary offer letter, officially putting her name, her real worth, on paper. "Submit it first thing tomorrow," she instructs, standing to leave. Ree watches her go, pride mixing with concern. The Walkers have no idea what's coming, but neither perhaps does Celeste. A week later, the realtor's heels click against marble as she leads us through the empty mansion, her voice echoing in spaces that will soon be mine. Reyes walks beside me, his whispered commentary making me smile despite the weight of what we're doing. "All cash offer was brilliant," he says, nodding appreciatively at the floating staircase that seems to defy gravity. "They accepted within hours. Your brother never stood a chance." I run my fingertips along cool marble countertops in a kitchen that could host a small army. It wasn't even a competition. Preston waits for bank approvals and family connections. I just wrote a check. The morning light streams through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating everything Preston wanted but couldn't have. 5.2 million of modern architecture with views of the Atlanta skyline that take my breath away. Not that I'd ever admit it aloud. The sellers were practically giddy, Ree continues, testing the premium appliances with the curiosity of a child. Said they'd never seen an offer come together so fast. No contingencies, no inspection period. I moved toward the enormous windows. The city sprawled before me like something I could reach out and touch. Did they mention other offers? Just one, Ree grins. Some finance guy who needed to secure funding. Preston's face flashes in my mind, how he'll look when he discovers someone bought his dream house right from under him. The thought warms me more than it should. We ascend the floating staircase, each feeling like a victory. The master bedroom spans the entire east wing with windows on 3 sides and a bathroom bigger than my first apartment. "This is where you'll sleep," Ree says, his voice softer now, "your kingdom." I stand in the center of the empty room, allowing myself to imagine for the first time my furniture here, my art on these walls, my life visible and undeniable. "You know what would be poetic?" Ree leans against the doorframe, eyes gleaming with mischief. "A housewarming party." "A party." I turn toward him, the idea taking root. "Not just any party." "The reveal party," he gestures expansively. "Invite everyone who matters in Atlanta, including your family. Let them walk through these halls admiring everything before they discover who actually owns it." I picture Eleanor touching the expensive fixtures, Arthur commenting on the craftsmanship, Preston calculating square footage and property values, all without knowing. The perfect ambush. "That's deliciously evil," I say, a smile spreading across my face. I love it. The next 3 weeks pass in a blur of activity. Interior designers swarm through the house like efficient ants, transforming empty spaces into something uniquely mine. I oversee every decision. The exact shade of gray for the living room walls, the specific texture of rugs beneath bare feet, lighting fixtures that cast the perfect glow. "These pieces from your spring collection should be featured prominently." I tell the lead designer, pointing to items from the perennial house that have graced magazine covers. "I want them everywhere." She nods, making notes. "They'll be conversation pieces for sure." Between design consultations, I make an obligatory appearance at my parents' house for coffee. Eleanor has been calling more frequently, worried about my absence from family gatherings. As I slip through the kitchen toward the powder room, I overhear Preston's agitated voice from Arthur's study. Some anonymous buyer with cash swooped in and took it. His frustration vibrates through this closed door. The West Pace's house. My house. Gone before I could even get the bank paperwork started. "You'll find something better, dear." Eleanor soothes her perpetual role as Preston's emotional bandage, fully engaged. "I've had my eye on that property for months," he continues, voice rising. "It was perfect." Arthur's deeper tone interjects with typical fatherly authority. "I'll call my banker friends. We'll get you priority on the next listing. Something will come up." I slip away unnoticed. Information gathered. Satisfaction warming my chest. They have no idea what's coming. The invitations go out a week later. Heavy cream cardstock in minimalist envelopes. New West Pace's residence. Housewarming, with the date, time, and address, but no host name. Ree and I review the guest list together, ensuring we've included every important connection in Atlanta's business community, alongside my unsuspecting family. My phone rings the next day with Eleanor's number. "Celeste, did you get one too?" she asks immediately after I answer. "An invitation to a housewarming on West Pace's. Must be Preston's new colleague or something." I suppress a laugh. "Yes, I received one. Looks interesting." "Oh, you should come. It'll be good for you to network with Preston's crowd." Her voice carries that familiar tone, the one that suggests I need help connecting with the right people. "I'll be there," I assure her, choosing words carefully. "You should come too. We've already RSVP'd. Preston thinks it's someone from that tech company that just opened offices downtown. Good chance to make connections." When I hang up, Ree raises an eyebrow. They took the bait. Hook, line, and sinker. Preston thinks it's a networking opportunity. As the night of the party arrives, I stand in my new bedroom examining my reflection. The black dress cost more than most people's monthly salary, but tonight calls for armor of the highest quality. My hair falls in soft waves. Makeup perfect, but understated. I look successful, powerful, untouchable. Outside the house glows with strategic lighting that highlights its modern lines. Inside, caterers arrange exquisite food on elegant platters. Every surface gleams, every detail perfect. Ree arrives first, looking sharp in his tailored suit. He whistles low as he takes in the completed transformation. "It's magnificent," he says, accepting a glass of champagne from a passing server. "Better than you described." We stand together at the bottom of the floating staircase, sharing a moment of solidarity before the performance begins. He raises his glass in a private toast. To the woman who built an empire while they weren't looking, I touch my glass to his throat tight with emotion I rarely allow myself to feel. Tonight isn't about approval. It's about truth. The doorbell rings and the first guests arrive. Business acquaintances and local influencers who exclaim over the house while trying to figure out who their host might be. I move among them anonymously, letting them assume I'm just another guest. An hour later, I spot them through the crowd. Arthur entering first, followed by Eleanor clutching her designer handbag, and Preston scanning the room with the calculated gaze of someone assessing property values and net worths simultaneously. "Whose house do you think this is?" Eleanor asks loudly enough for me to overhear as she accepts a glass of champagne. "Has to be tech money," Preston replies, running his hand along a marble countertop. "Or old Atlanta wealth place. Must have cost a fortune." They wander through the ground floor commenting on the furnishings, the architecture, the view. I follow at a distance watching as Eleanor stops before a distinctive vase displayed prominently on a console table. "This looks like one of those things from Celeste's website," she says, bending closer to examine it. Preston scoffs, barely glancing at it. "Probably a knockoff. Real quality here." The moment has arrived. I slip away, ascending the floating staircase unseen until I reach the top. From this vantage point, I can see my entire party spread below. Ree catches my eye from across the room and raises his glass slightly our signal. He taps his glass with a spoon, the crystal chime cutting through conversation. "Ladies and gentlemen," he calls out, "I believe our host would like to say a few words." All eyes turn upward, finding me at the top of the staircase. The room falls silent as I stand above them, powerful in my elevation. I spot my family immediately. Arthur's confusion, Eleanor's surprise. Preston's narrowed eyes as he tries to understand why I'm speaking. "Welcome, everyone." I begin, my voice steady and clear. My family in particular was always worried about my future. They thought my hobby couldn't possibly pay the bills, so I'm glad they're here to see what that hobby bought. "Welcome to my house." Absolute silence follows. In the hush, I hear the distinct sound of Preston's phone clattering to the marble floor. Arthur's face drains of color, while Eleanor's mouth opens and closes without producing sound. Around them, other guests murmur in admiration, raising glasses in my direction. Across the room, Ree beams with undisguised pride. But it's the expressions on my family's faces that I'll remember forever, the moment they finally see me standing in my truth. 5.2 million of undeniable success beneath my feet. For the first time in my life, I'm not waiting for their approval. I'm simply showing them who I've always been. And it feels like freedom. The stunned silence that followed my announcement lasted precisely 5 seconds before a nervous laugh erupted from somewhere in the crowd. I remained at the top of the floating staircase, watching the party guests shift uncomfortably as they glanced between my family and me. My mother recovered first, her social training kicking in. Celeste stopped joking. Eleanor's voice carried a forced lightness that fooled no one. "Whose house is this really?" I descended 3 steps, maintaining the higher ground. Mine, mother, every square inch. Arthur pushed through the gathering crowd, his face flushed beneath his silver hair. He grabbed my elbow, pulling me aside, while maintaining a strange smile for the benefit of onlookers. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he hissed, voice low but sharp as a blade. "Is this some kind of sick joke?" I disengaged my arm from his grip with a subtle twist. No joke, no games, just fact. Behind him, Preston stood frozen, his expression cycling through emotions like a slot machine. Shock, disbelief, and finally calculation. The wheels were turning behind those eyes, reassessing everything he thought he knew about his little sister. Around us, the party continued its awkward momentum. Servers circulated with champagne. Conversations resumed in hushed tones. The chamber quartet I'd hired played on their strings, filling the uncomfortable silence. 5.2 million. I announced just loud enough for nearby guests to hear. paid in cash from my hobby. A woman I recognized from a design magazine approached. Champagne flute extended toward me. Celeste, this place is spectacular. I had no idea the perennial house was doing so well. We featured your autumn collection last issue. Arthur's face drained of color. Eleanor clutched her pearls. Thank you, I replied, accepting the toast. It's been quite a year. Other guests drifted over, offering congratulations, asking questions about my business. With each interaction, my family retreated further into isolation, their decades-old narrative disintegrating in real time. I excused myself from a conversation with a local gallery owner to refresh my drink. The calculated risk had paid off. The public revelation prevented any family attempt to dismiss or minimize my success. Preston appeared beside me at the wine table, his perfect white teeth clenched in a grimace disguised as a smile. He gripped his tumbler of bourbon so tightly I thought it might shatter. "What game are you playing?" he demanded, voice low and aggressive. "There's no way you can afford this place. What did you do? Get some sugar daddy investor to front the cash?" I sipped my champagne, maintaining eye contact. The perennial house cleared $35 million in revenue last year. Preston, I bought this house with my money cash. The satisfaction of watching his eyes widen was worth every second of the years I'd spent hiding my success. He processed the information, his expression shifting as he recalculated his position. I could almost see the mental spreadsheet adjusting behind his eyes. "Why didn't you come to me for investment advice?" he asked, pivoting to salvage his ego. "I could have helped you structure things more efficiently, tax advantages, offshore accounts." "You never asked about my business." I cut him off. "Not once in all these years. Not a single question about what I was building. Why would I come to you now?" The truth landed like a slap. Preston retreated without another word, making a beeline for Arthur in the corner. They huddled together, their hushed conversation punctuated by frequent glances in my direction. I turned to find Eleanor approaching, her emergency smile firmly in place, the same one she used when Preston crashed the Lexus at 16, or when Dad's racist comments offended dinner guests. "Celeste, darling," she air-kissed near my cheek. "What a lovely surprise. We always knew you were smart with money." The revisionist history had begun already. I sipped my champagne without responding. Arthur joined us, sliding an arm around Eleanor's waist. "Quite the surprising success," he said, emphasizing surprising, as if my achievement were some cosmic accident. "Tell us about your revenue model. How did you scale so quickly without institutional investors? 8 years too late." They wanted answers. 8 years too late. They were interested in my business. "It's a long story," I replied, offering nothing. "We should have a family business dinner soon," Eleanor suggested, her voice honeyed with newfound respect, to discuss opportunities. "Your father has excellent contacts who might be interested in what you're doing." Perhaps I said noncommittal. The power shift was palpable. For the first time in my life, they were chasing me. Across the room, Ree caught my eye, raising an eyebrow in silent question. I gave a slight nod to indicate all was proceeding as planned. He moved through the crowd with practiced ease, stepping in when needed to redirect conversations or extract me from awkward encounters. As the evening progressed, I overheard a fragment of conversation between Arthur and Preston near the bar. "Temporary cash flow issues," Arthur muttered. "But if we can secure that bridge financing," Preston cut him off with a sharp headshake. "The Kensington investment went sideways. I told you it was high risk." I paused by a nearby column, pretending to examine a painting while straining to hear more. "How bad?" Arthur asked, voice tight. "Bad enough," Preston replied. "We need to talk privately." "Not here." I moved away before they noticed me processing this new information. The golden boy wasn't so golden after all. For years I'd assumed Preston's swagger was backed by genuine success. Now I wasn't so sure. Rather than confront them immediately, I decided to observe. This unexpected vulnerability changed the equation. The knowledge itself was power. Power I hadn't anticipated having tonight. Later, as guests mingled around the custom marble island in the kitchen, I overheard 2 financial analysts discussing Preston's firm, heard they lost the Westridge account last month. Major blow. not surprised. Their last 3 investments underperformed significantly. I filed the information away, maintaining my hostess' smile while circulating through the room. When Ree approached with a fresh glass of champagne, his expression told me he'd heard similar whispers. "Interesting party," he murmured close to my ear. "Your brother's firm isn't doing as well as he projects. Word is they've missed their last 2 quarterly targets by double digits." I accepted the champagne, our fingers brushing in the exchange. "Interesting," I replied quietly. "Let's keep our eyes open." The family that had dismissed my business acumen for years was now facing their own financial reckoning. I hadn't planned for this additional leverage, but as any good entrepreneur knows, sometimes the most valuable opportunities are the ones you didn't expect to find. 3 months of calculated business maneuvers had transformed the perennial house from a thriving company into a market predator. I sat at my executive desk reviewing the final acquisition reports with Ree. Outside my office windows, Atlanta's skyline gleamed in the afternoon sun, a testament to ambitions realized. "Supply chain acquisition complete," Ree said, sliding another folder across my desk. "That makes 7 of Modern Hearth's key suppliers now under our umbrella." I nodded, taking in the numbers. Modern Hearth had been struggling with delivery times and quality control for weeks. Each strategic supplier acquisition had tightened the noose around their operations without leaving any fingerprints leading back to us. "The market analysts released their quarterly report this morning," I said, passing him my tablet. "They're calling the perennial house the unexpected powerhouse disrupting home goods e-commerce." Scrolled through the report, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "And look at this paragraph about Modern Hearth's increasingly erratic business pivots. They're scrambling." On my desk, a notification pinged. The warehouse deal was ready for final approval. Preston had no idea we'd been negotiating behind the scenes to purchase the very building Modern Hearth operated from. One signature, and we'd control their physical distribution center too. "Ready for the boardroom?" Ree asked, gathering his materials. I stood smoothing my charcoal suit. "Let's finish this." In the sleek conference room overlooking the city, our executive team and lawyers waited. The mood was professional but charged with anticipation. This wasn't just business. It was the final move in a chess game only Ree and I fully understood. "The bankruptcy purchase agreement is ready for your signature, Miss Walker," our lead counsel said, sliding the document toward me. "Once filed, you'll own all remaining Modern Hearth assets at approximately 12 cents on the dollar." I signed without hesitation, my signature flowing across the page with the confidence of someone who had been planning this moment for months. "Congratulations," the lawyer said. "You now own your largest competitor." The meeting concluded with handshakes and nods. No celebration, no champagne. This wasn't about pageantry. It was about power. Back in my office, Ree handed me the industry publication that had just hit the newsstands. The headline blazed across the cover. "Modern Hearth Files, Chapter 11. E-commerce darling's spectacular failure. They're questioning the investment firm's judgment," Ree noted, pointing to a section halfway down the page. Preston's name appears 3 times, not in a flattering context. I skimmed the article, taking in phrases like catastrophic mismanagement and investor confidence shattered. Preston Walker was being raked over the coals by the very financial press that had once celebrated him. "Your brother's firm is taking a major hit on this," Ree said, watching my face for a reaction. I set down the magazine, my expression neutral. "He bet against me with other people's money. He lost." The words hung in the air between us. Neither celebratory nor regretful, just facts. My phone buzzed again. The 7th call from Eleanor today. I silenced it without looking. Over the past week, my mother's attempts to reach me had escalated from occasional to frantic. Text messages popped up on my screen throughout the day, each more desperate than the last. I played the latest voicemail on speaker. "Celeste, please. We need to talk. It's serious." Ree raised an eyebrow. "They're finally figuring out what happened." "Seems that way." I pocketed my phone. "What do you think? Should I even bother?" He considered the question, leaning against my desk. You owe them nothing but hear them out if you want closure. I walked to the window, looking out at the city I'd conquered despite their dismissal. The family that had never believed in me was now scrambling for my attention. The irony wasn't lost on me. Let them come to me, I decided. On my terms, in my house. I scheduled the meeting for Sunday at 5:00 p.m., exactly the time family dinner had always been served. Symbolic, perhaps, but I was past caring about subtlety. That Sunday, I positioned myself at the top of my floating staircase as the security system announced their arrival. Through the massive windows, I watched them approach Arthur's shoulders, slumped in defeat. Eleanor dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Preston trailing behind them, eyes fixed on the ground. The contrast to that Sunday dinner months ago couldn't have been more stark. The power had completely reversed. I made no move to come down as they entered my foyer, standing silent and small beneath me. "Come in," I said, my voice carrying in the marble entryway. I turned without waiting for their response and led them into my living room, not offering to take their coats or provide refreshments. I settled into a single chair, leaving them to arrange themselves on the sofa opposite me. The silence stretched between us, thick with unspoken history. I didn't break it. This was their meeting, their request. Let them speak first. Arthur cleared his throat, hands clasped between his knees. "Celeste, we need your help." I said nothing, just raised an eyebrow. "Preston has," he faltered, looking to Eleanor. My mother jumped in, voice trembling. "Preston has lost everything. Everything." I repeated, my tone professional, detached. Arthur nodded, face gray. "Our savings too. We co-signed on his investment. Our retirement is gone." Eleanor leaned forward, tears spilling freely now. "We need help, Celeste. Alone just until we get back on our feet." Preston hadn't spoken a word, hadn't even looked up from the floor. His designer clothes looked rumpled, his hair unwashed. "What was it exactly that you lost everything on?" I asked him directly. He flinched at being addressed, then muttered toward the floor. "A tech startup, an e-commerce brand. You wouldn't get it. It was called Modern Hearth." I smiled. The expression felt like ice on my face. Modern Hearth. I repeated the words precise. "Our biggest competitor for the last 6 months. Did you wonder why they filed for bankruptcy last Tuesday? It's because the perennial houses my company acquired their entire supply chain. You bet against me with our parents' money. You lost." Arthur's mouth fell open. Eleanor's weeping intensified. "Celeste, please," she cried. "We're family." Preston finally looked up, his face twisted with anger and shame, a flush creeping up his neck. I stood smoothing my slacks in a single fluid motion. The conversation was over. I walked calmly to my front door and pulled it open wide, letting the afternoon light spill across the marble floor. "Get off my property," I said quietly, and I closed the door on their shocked faces. 3 months later, afternoon sunlight pours through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Celeste's West Paces mansion, casting long golden rectangles across the marble floor. The living room, once a showcase for potential buyers, now feels lived and truly hers. A cashmere throw draped over the modern sectional art pieces, carefully selected for their meaning rather than their price tags, and fresh flowers, arranged in a handcrafted vase from her own collection. Celeste leans forward on the sofa, studying fabric swatches spread across the coffee table. Ree sits opposite her, tablet in hand, his casual posture belying the importance of their discussion. The third quarter numbers exceeded projections by 17%. Ree says, sliding the tablet toward her. "That sustainable housewares line is outselling everything else 201. Celeste nods, allowing herself a small smile. Not the shield she once wore at family dinners, but something genuine. People respond to authenticity. Who knew? She picks up a luxurious cream-colored fabric sample, running her thumb across its texture. The room feels different than it did during those first weeks after the confrontation. No lingering tension, no sense of victory needed, just peace. About the expansion, Ree continues scrolling through a presentation. I found a manufacturer in North Carolina. Family-owned for 3 generations. Impeccable labor practices, all materials sourced, within 500 meters of their facility. Celeste tilts her head. Considering higher production costs, but lower carbon footprint plus, American mod carries weight with our demographic. Exactly what I was thinking, Ree says. Their professional shorthand flows effortlessly, now built on 3 years of partnership and trust. Did you see the industry award nomination came through? He adds casually, though his eyes betray his excitement. Design Guild's visionary brand category. About time, Celeste says, without the bitterness such recognition would have once triggered. No need to downplay achievements anymore. No reflexive modesty learned at her parents' table. Her phone buzzes against the marble screen, illuminating with a name. Eleanor Walker. The room seems to hold its breath. Ree watches carefully, his expression neutral, but alert. Celeste glances at the phone, a brief memory flashing her family's shocked faces as the front door closed. Arthur's stunned disbelief. Eleanor's tears. For a moment, her finger hovers over the screen. 3 months ago, this call would have sent adrenaline rushing through her system. 6 months ago, she might have answered immediately, desperate for any crumb of approval. Without ceremony, she silences the call and turns the phone face down. Let's use the better fabric for this one, she says, returning to the cream-colored swatch, as if the interruption never happened. Ree nods the gesture, containing volumes of understanding and approval. No discussion needed, no justification required. They move through the afternoon, conversation flowing naturally to future plans, a potential pop-up store in Chicago, collaborations with emerging artists, the winter collection's color palette. Not once does either mention the Walkers or Preston's failed investment. Celeste laughs unexpectedly at Reese's dry observation about a competitor's awkward rebranding attempt. The sound bounces off the high ceilings, unfettered and genuine. She moves to the window, observing the manicured grounds as evening approaches. Her reflection appears in the glass shoulders, relaxed posture, open eyes clear. This house feels different now. Not a statement, not revenge, just home. As dusk settles, warm light blooms throughout the rooms, casting a golden glow on the modern angles and clean lines. Celeste and Ree walk their senior designer to the front door after finalizing the spring collection details. Dinner at 8, the designer asks. Marcus is bringing that chef he's been dating. Says we need an unbiased opinion on his risotto. Wouldn't miss it, Celeste replies, the casual certainty of plans with friends, her chosen family, feeling more natural than any Sunday dinner ever had. Back inside, she notices her phone on the coffee table screen lit with notifications of 3 missed calls. Without checking them, she sets the device face down and walks toward the kitchen. She had waited her entire life to say those words. Now, she discovered something unexpected. Freedom tastes better than revenge. Story 2. Morning sunlight streams through my kitchen windows, casting long rectangles across the hardwood floor, where half-unpacked moving boxes still wait. I grip a coffee mug in one hand and sort through my mail with the other, trying to maintain some semblance of normal routine in my new home. The certified letter sits apart from the stack of junk mail and bills its official markings, making my stomach clench. When I tear open the envelope, the world stops turning. Edward and Marlene Lauren versus Ardan Lauren. My coffee mug slips from numb fingers, shattering against the floor. Dark liquid seeps into the grout between tiles as my hands begin to tremble. The legal papers wavering before my eyes. The demand jumps out in stark black text. Immediate transfer of property and $300,000 in damages. My own parents are suing me. 2 weeks earlier, I had stood in the same kitchen signing closing papers on my $412,000. On the first major purchase of my life. The real estate agent had beamed as she handed me the keys. You did this completely on your own, she'd said. That's something to be proud of. That night, I'd celebrated alone with takeout Chinese and a bottle of champagne I'd been saving since my promotion last year. I wandered through empty rooms, mentally placing furniture I'd carefully budgeted for, mapping out each space that was finally irrevocably mine. "Look at this, Grandpa," I'd said later during our video call, panning my phone around the living room. "I did it." His eyes had welled up with pride. "You sure did, sweetheart. You sure did." The first sign that something was wrong came immediately after I announced the purchase. My parents' faces on FaceTime were tight, uncomfortable. My sister Sabrina hovered in their living room, behind them designer purse dangling from her arm. "How many bedrooms?" Mom had asked, her smile brittle. "3," I'd answered, "and a nice yard." "That's quite a purchase for someone your age," Dad said, his jaw working. Sabrina leaned into frame, her perfectly styled hair falling forward. "Must be nice to have that kind of money to throw around." Mom's eyes darted to her. "You know your sister's been having a rough time, Ardan." I should have recognized the warning signs then, but nothing could have prepared me for their ambush a week later. "We need to discuss a family matter," Dad said, his face filling my phone screen. His business tone, the one he used for difficult conversations with employees. Mom dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. "We've always put family first, haven't we? Always supported each other. Your sister needs stability more than you do." Dad continued. "She has plans for that house. Creative plans. You can keep renting." I stared at them, uncomprehending. "This is my house. I worked for it. Sabrina can earn her own." "Don't be selfish," Mom snapped. "Family helps family." The certified letter arrived the next day. As I read through the documents now, my throat closes up. Aunt Ramona's name appears as financial backer of the lawsuit. An email from Sabrina is attached as evidence, claiming I stole her opportunity. The demands are spelled out in clinical legal language. Transfer of property deed to Sabrina Lauren. Continued mortgage payments for 18 months. Minus $300,000 for child rearing costs. Written apology for damaging family trust. My hands shake as I dial my grandfather's number. He answers on the first ring. "They've gone too far this time," he says, after I explain, his voice hard with anger. I spend the next hour researching attorneys, my heart sinking at retainer fees starting at $10,000. Money I don't have after the down payment and closing costs. The reality settles over me like a heavy blanket. I'll have to defend myself. That night I sit alone in my new home, surrounded by boxes I haven't had the energy to unpack. Tears threaten, but don't fall. In their place, something stronger takes root. Determination. They want my house. The one I spent 15 years saving for while they bankrolled Sabrina's failed ventures. The home I earned through countless overtime shifts and careful budgeting. Let them try. I stand up and walk to my bedroom window, looking out at the quiet street below. This is my home, my achievement, my line in the sand. They made their choice to attack what I've built. Now I'll make mine to defend it. Have you ever had family members try to claim what you've worked hard for? Share your experience in the comments. I spread financial documents across my dining room table. The morning sun casting shadows between stacks of bank statements and tax returns. My laptop screen glows with an open spreadsheet. 15 years of financial life reduced to columns and formulas. The numbers tell a story. My family doesn't want told. Memory flashback at age 16. 5 or 25. 25-hour at Morningstar Coffee. Tips split between 3 baristas. I can still smell the burnt espresso. Feel the ache in my feet after 8-hour shifts. You're missing Sabrina's Sweet 16. Mom had texted that night. The DJ cost a fortune. I'd watch the party unfold on social media between customers. My sister in a custom pink dress, surrounded by floating lanterns and a chocolate fountain, cost roughly 3 months of my wages. My fingers traced down a column of community college receipts. Night classes after work. Textbooks bought used. Careful budgeting of every meal. Dad's voice echoes from that period. An accounting certificate. It's not even a real degree. The memory of my 18th birthday surfaces, not the celebration, but the argument that followed. What do you mean you won't fill out the FAFSA? I'd asked, clutching university application papers. You're an adult now, Dad had said. Time to stand on your own feet. A week later, I'd found an apartment listing. $400 month. Roaches included. The start of real independence. At the present, my phone buzzes. Mom's number. I let it go to voicemail, already knowing the script. Sweetheart, her message quavers. We've always given you both exactly what you needed. Why are you being so difficult about this? I pull up my email. Finding Dad's response to my emergency root canal. 4 years ago. Figure it out. Below it, bank statements showing $2, a transfer to Sabrina that same week for creative supplies. My sister's Instagram feed tells its own story. Semesters abroad in Paris and Rome funded by our parents. Art supplies that cost more than my monthly rent. Meanwhile, my student loan statements march endlessly onward minus $47,000 in debt. Every payment made alone. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Dad's latest email warns. I delete it without responding. A new voicemail notification pops up. Aunt Ramona this time. You selfish girl, she spits. After everything this family's done for you. I research her history online, finding foreclosure records from 5 years ago. The same year she started living in Mom and Dad's guest house. The pieces click. She's not just backing their lawsuit. She's looking for her own backup plan. A quick social media search reveals Sabrina's latest crisis. Eviction notice from her creative studio apartment 3 weeks ago. The timing aligns perfectly with their lawsuit. The doorbell rings, startling me. Grandpa stands on my porch, carrying a weathered cardboard box. Thought you might need these, he says, setting it down. Inside, decades of family financial records meticulously organized. They did the same thing to your cousin Thomas, he explains, settling into a kitchen chair. When his auto shop started turning a profit, they tried, claiming he owed them for family investments. My phone lights up with a text from Thomas himself 10 minutes later. Heard about the lawsuit. They tried taking my shop when it finally got out of the red. Don't let them win. A knock at the door an hour later reveals my next-door neighbor holding a potted plant. Welcome to the neighborhood, she says warmly, despite surely having heard about the family drama. My high school boss from Morningstar Coffee emails. Remember that Employee of the Year award? Happy to be a character reference. The support strengthens me for the next wave in the days to follow. A certified letter threatening property liens. Sabrina's tearful Facebook posts about her heartless sister, and calls from my parents' country club friends about family duty. Aunt Ramona's silver Mercedes cruises past my house for the 3rd time today, her phone raised to take pictures. An hour later, my supervisor calls about an anonymous concern regarding my character. I spend my lunch break filing a motion to dismiss using every scrap of legal knowledge gleaned from late-night research. The court clerk raises her eyebrows at my pro se filing next week. This is surprisingly thorough, she says, stamping the documents. The preliminary hearing is set for next month. I request unpaid leave from work. Ignoring my boss's worried frown about personal distractions affecting performance. That evening, I sit on my new porch swing, watching the sun paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. The scene triggers a memory. Teenage me walking this same street, admiring these houses, promising myself I'd earn one someday. You're dreaming too big, Mom had said when I'd mentioned it. Maybe I was, but I did it anyway. A young family walks past, children laughing as they chase fireflies. I think about the locksmith coming tomorrow, the security system being installed next week. Not just protecting my house, but fortifying my boundaries. They say blood is thicker than water, but I'm learning that some family ties are actually chains. Sometimes love means standing firm even when it hurts. Sometimes independence comes at a price worth paying. I gather my documents and head inside, leaving the porch light on. Not for family, but for the new connections I'm building, one kindness at a time. Next week, the church bulletin lies crumpled on my kitchen counter. My parents' congregation's letterheads stark against today's mail. 3 more prayer requests expressing concern for my wayward path and hardened heart toward family. I add them to the growing pile. My phone buzzes with another social media notification. Sabrina's latest Instagram story features her tearfully holding our childhood photo album. Family means supporting each other no matter what. Broken Heart Family First. The timestamp shows 3:00 a.m., prime posting hours for maximum sympathy engagement. I pull up my financial tracking spreadsheet, the one I've maintained since that first dishwashing job at M's Diner. 15 years old scrubbing plates until midnight, while my classmates planned homecoming outfits. The memory of pruned fingers and aching feet feels fresh. Along with May's gentle reminder you're building something, girl. Keep those records clean. Each cell tells a story. 6.25 hour times 30 hours weekly, minus bus fare. Community college tuition payments scheduled around 3 part-time jobs. The studio apartment with the leaking ceiling and the second-hand futon I'd proudly purchased for $40. You really live like this? Mom had asked during her only visit, eyes sweeping over my carefully arranged thrift store furniture. The spreadsheet continues. Monthly savings transfers starting at $200, growing to $300. As my certifications brought better opportunities, years of careful planning, every extra penny funneled toward my dream of home ownership. A knock at the door interrupts my review. Through the security camera feed, a new installation courtesy of Grandpa, I spot Mrs. Henderson from 2 doors down. Thought you might need lunch, she says, holding up a paper bag. And Gary's taking the 36 p.m. watch shift today. The neighbors have organized an informal surveillance rotation since Aunt Ramona's Mercedes became a regular fixture on our street. Their quiet support feels like a shield in the days to follow. One Tuesday afternoon, breaking news notification. Sabrina's interview with the local paper. Sister disputes family legacy. The article features her posed artistically in her former studio apartment, surrounded by half-finished canvases. My phone rings. Thomas saw the article. He says without preamble, "Got those account records you asked about the family investment they claimed I owed." Funny how the numbers matched Aunt Ramona's foreclosure exactly. The Whole Foods automatic doors slide open, and I freeze. Sabrina stands by the organic produce designer sunglasses perched on her head. Too late to retreat. She spotted me. Well, if it isn't the family trader, she announces loudly enough for nearby shoppers to turn. I focus on selecting tomatoes, keeping my voice steady. "Hello, Sabrina. You always thought you were better than us," she hisses, stepping closer. "With your precious spreadsheets and your boring job, you know what that house could be. An amazing art cafe concept. People would love it." I meet her eyes. "And how would you handle the mortgage property taxes?" She waves dismissively. "Obviously that part would still be your responsibility since you're so good with money." Her lip curls. "Unlike some of us, who actually pursued our passions, ma'am." The store manager appears. "Is everything all right?" Sabrina's voice rises dramatically. My own sister abandoning her family. I leave my cart, walking calmly toward the exit as Sabrina's performance echoes behind me. The manager catches my eye with a knowing look. We all know what's really happening here. Back home, I spread out the documents. Grandpa delivered. Parents' financial records showing Sabrina's $90,000 student loans paid in full, a $25,000 business loan for her failed pottery studio, their mortgage-free property deed, and buried in old emails the truth. Time to teach Ardan a lesson about family obligation. Aunt Ramona wrote before she gets too independent. My hands shake as I compile court exhibits. The room spins, slightly too many memories crowding in. I'm 5 years old again, watching Mom remove my crayon drawing from the refrigerator. Sabrina needs space for her new watercolor. A gentle knock. Grandpa enters without waiting, carrying a weathered photo album. "Found these in the attic," he says, settling into the chair beside me. "Your grandmother kept everything." The photos tell a different story. Me at every minimum wage job, proudly holding first paychecks. A display of perfect attendance certificates, my community college graduation. Grandma beaming beside me. "She saw you," Grandpa says softly. She knew what you were building, those textbooks you thought just showed up at the campus bookstore. That was her. Tears blur my vision as I stand before the bathroom mirror practicing my court statement. The voice that emerges sounds stronger than I feel. I am not responsible for supporting adult family members who refuse to support themselves. I straighten my blazer. Purchased on sale last year. Recorded meticulously in my budget. The security cameras blink steadily. Evidence binders stand ready, each document telling its own truth. Aunt Ramona's Mercedes cruises past again, but I don't flinch. Some sacrifices strengthen us even as they break our hearts. Sometimes the hardest boundaries are the ones we need most. I touch the small photo of Grandma I'll carry tomorrow, her eyes twinkling with the pride she never spoke aloud. She understood the price of independence. Now it's my turn to prove I was worth her investment. Tomorrow, I'll tell my truth. Tonight I fortify my walls, not with brick and mortar, but with 15 years of carefully documented sacrifice and the quiet strength of those who believe in earning their own way. On the confrontation day, the courthouse steps gleam in the morning sun as I adjust my grip on the leather document case, a graduation gift from Grandma. Now carrying the weight of 15 years' receipts and records, each step feels deliberate grounding. The glass doors reflect my image. Navy blazer pressed slacks, minimal jewelry, professional prepared a far cry from my first courthouse visit at 16. Seeking work papers with trembling hands. Oh, perfect timing. Sabrina's voice rings across the marble lobby. My family forms a coordinated tableau matching white blood. First t-shirts under sport coats and cardigans. Mom dabs at carefully smudged mascara while Dad's attorney arranges papers with theatrical precision. Aunt Ramona catches my eye, lips curving into a familiar smirk. Last chance to avoid embarrassing the family dear. I keep walking, clicking steadily against marble. The security guard nods as I pass through the metal detector. My heart beats steady, despite the weight of their stares. The courtroom feels smaller than expected. Wood panels absorb sound, creating a bubble of focused silence. I arrange my exhibits with practiced efficiency. Each tab color-coded and annotated, the methodology that earned eye rolls at family dinners now serves as armor. All rise. Judge Martinez enters her quick assessment, taking in both sides. Her gaze lingers on the matching shirts before settling on the stack of motions. Interesting filing, she comments, scanning the first page. Please proceed. Dad's attorney rises, straightening his tie. Your Honor, this case centers on familial obligation and traditional values. The Lauren family invested approximately $300,000 in raising their daughter as documented by USDA statistics. Objection. I state clearly. Irrelevant. Standard childcare costs don't create legal debt. Sustained. Judge Martinez's pen taps her notepad. Counsel proceed with actual claims. Mom takes the stand first. Tissue clutched dramatically. We sacrificed everything for our girls. Private lessons, summer camps. Her voice breaks. How can she abandon us now that she's successful? I stay focused on my notes as she describes my selfish career choices, my rejection of family values. Each accusation lands softer than the last, buffered by years of documented truth. Dad testifies next, his authoritative boardroom voice filling the space. In our family, successful children support their parents. It's understood. And when was this agreement made? Judge Martinez interrupts. It's traditional. He stumbles. Implied. Your Honor, I begin my cross-examination. Did you provide similar support for Sabrina's education? Objection. Irrelevant. Their attorney stands. I'll allow it. Judge Martinez says, answer the question. Dad shifts uncomfortably. Sabrina needed help pursuing her artistic gifts. Please review Exhibit C. I direct. Bank statement showing $90,000 in student loan payments for Sabrina's fine arts degree, plus $25,000 for her pottery studio. Sabrina's testimony comes next, tears flowing on cue. The house would be perfect for my healing art cafe concept. I'd let her keep a room, of course. And the mortgage, Judge Martinez asks. Property taxes. Well, Arden's good with money stuff. Sabrina waves dismissively. She'd handle that part. The judge's eyebrow rises. What's your current employment status? I'm between projects, Sabrina sniffs. My art requires emotional space. I stand for my testimony, spreading out 15 years of pay-ubs, rent receipts, college transcripts. I began working at 15 your honor. Every job documented, every penny accounted for, including parental support, the judge asks. None received. I present bank statements. I paid my own way through community college while working 3 jobs. The down payment for my house came from 15 years of careful saving. She's twisting things. Aunt Ramona bursts out. This ungrateful girl. Silence. Judge Martinez warns. She studies my documentation, then addresses my parents directly. Would you be making these demands if both daughters were struggling financially? The silence speaks volumes. I've heard enough. The judge closes her folder. This case lacks any legal merit whatsoever. Properties purchased independently remain independent. Case dismissed with prejudice. Aunt Ramona's outraged screech echoes off marble as security escorts her out. Sabrina collapses in the hallway, but the court personnel step carefully around her prone form, faces neutral. You'll regret choosing money over family, she calls after me. I pause at the courthouse doors, sunlight streaming through glass. Behind me, Mom's voice rises. How could you do this to your family? But the weight pressing against my chest for months finally lifts. Through the window, I spot Grandpa's truck idling at the curb. His steady presence a reminder that family, real family, builds you up instead of tearing you down. You okay, kid? He asks as I climb in. I watch my biological family huddled on the courthouse steps, their matching shirts a bright blur in the rearview mirror. I think I finally am. Your grandmother would be proud, he says softly. She always said you had the strength to build your own path. The familiar streets look different, somehow clearer, like after a storm, each carefully earned mile bringing me closer to home. My home protected now by truth and law, and the quiet power of standing firm. In my pocket, the small photo of Grandma seems to warm slightly. She'd understood the price of independence, the courage required to choose yourself. Some sacrifices strengthen us even as they break our hearts. Sometimes the hardest boundaries become our strongest foundations. The security system chimes as I enter my home, my legally protected home now. 3 days since the courtroom victory, and already the quiet feels different. Not peaceful exactly, but fortified. My phone buzzes. Another notification from Sabrina's GoFundMe. My sister stole my future. Help an artist heal. The fabricated story beneath makes my stomach clench. After supporting me through art school, my sister betrayed our family's trust. Now I'm facing homelessness while she hoards wealth in an empty house. Please help me create my healing art cafe. I screenshot it for my attorney. Then silence notifications. The lies sting less than the calculated manipulation. She knows exactly how to play the victim. Did you see the email? Thomas's text appears. My cousin, usually silent on family matters, has emerged as an unexpected ally. Uncle Edward and Aunt Marlene really outdid themselves. The mass email to our extended family arrived this morning detailing my cruel betrayal of family values and selfish materialism. Each carefully crafted paragraph designed to isolate me from the wider family network. I saw it, I reply. Seems familiar. They did the same to me when my business took off. Called me ungrateful. Demanded family investments. I wish I'd fought back like you did. That night the security system chirps again. Motion detected. Through the app I watch Aunt Ramona's Mercedes creep past my house for the 3rd time tonight. At midnight the camera catches her approaching my front door. Spray paint can glinting in the porch light. You ungrateful little. The rest is lost as she realizes she's being recorded. The paint can disappears into her designer bag as she hurries away, but not before leaving a bright red streak across my new door. The responding officer arrives quickly. We've got clear footage, he says, reviewing the video. Would you like to press charges? I think of family dinners, holiday gatherings, the complex web of loyalty and obligation. I need to file for a restraining order. Next week, the courthouse feels different now. Where fear once lived, determination takes root. The clerk processes my paperwork, efficiently, eyebrows rising at the family names. Judge Martinez's courtroom again, she notes. She'll remember the context. The temporary order comes through immediately, backed by the officer's testimony and security footage. Each signature feels like both victory and loss, protecting my future while severing my past. They tried this with others. Mrs. Chen, our old neighbor, tells me over coffee. Her letter arrived yesterday detailing 20 years of observed family dynamics. Your father demanded family support from his brother too before the cancer took him. Your aunt, she's always been jealous of your mother's marriage, you know. Uses money to control people. Grandfather fills in more gaps as we work on his truck together. Your grandmother set aside college money for both you girls, he says quietly. Your parents redirected it, called it investing in Sabrina's gift. His hands stay steady on the wrench, but his voice carries old anger. That's why she left you the house money separately in her will. The permanent restraining order hearing arrives too quickly and not soon enough. The matching shirts are gone, replaced by subtle designer labels and practiced humility. Their new attorney speaks of reconciliation, portraying me as vindictive and unbalanced. Your Honor, I stand. Evidence organized with familiar precision. I'll let the facts speak. Security footage plays. Police reports detail workplace disruptions. My family claiming medical emergencies to bypass security. The GoFundMe screenshots. The email campaign. Enough. Judge Martinez interrupts. Restraining order granted and expanded to include digital harassment. Any violation will result in immediate consequences. That evening, the local paper runs the story. Family property lawsuit dismissed. Restraining order granted. Sabrina's GoFundMe disappears. Reported for fraud. Messages trickle in from extended family, support, similar stories, quiet solidarity. Your cousin Rachel called. Grandfather tells me over dinner. Says she's proud of you. Others are starting to speak up about their experiences too. I watch him sin his potatoes with methodical care. The same attention to detail he taught me in his garage rebuilding engines while sharing life wisdom. Does it get easier, I ask. Choosing yourself, he sets down his fork. Sometimes family is what you build, not what you're born into. Your grandmother knew that. Why do you think she left you those tools in her will? Later, I complete my nightly security routine. Doors locked, cameras, active systems armed. The red paint is gone from the door, but its ghost remains. A reminder of boundaries earned and enforced. In my journal, words flow. I protected what I earned, but I'm mourning what never was. The family I wanted existed only in my hopes, the family I have now. The ones who choose truth over comfort, growth over control, they're the foundation for something real. My phone lights up with another text from Thomas. Dinner next week. Rachel and her kids want to meet at that new place downtown. I smile, typing back. Count me in. The security system chimes softly. All secure. Through the window, I watch the sunset paint my garden in gentle golds. Grandmother's roses transplanted from her yard bloom stubbornly against the fence. Some things grow stronger when forced to root deeper, finding nourishment in unexpected soil. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, but tonight in this house I earned and defended. I am anchored in truth. Some victories carry the weight of grief, but they clear the ground for new growth, new connections, new definitions of family. I turn off the lights, leaving one on for the porch. A habit learned from grandmother. Not all traditions need to be broken. Some, like her wisdom and strength, become the foundation for building something better. The morning sun streams through my kitchen windows, catching dust motes as I measure coffee grounds. 2 scoops per cup, the way grandfather taught me. Air since the restraining order, and my weekends have found their rhythm. Maple's tags jingle as she trots to the back door. My rescue mutt, half golden retriever, half probably everything else. According to the shelter, has her own routine. Now she knows Mrs. Chen next door will be out gardening ready with treats and gentle conversation. Just a minute, girl. I check the security app out of habit. The system's still active, but I've scaled back the notifications. No more midnight alerts. No more documenting every passing car. The cameras remain. Silent sentinels rather than constant reminders. The workshop smell hits me as I enter the garage. Sawdust and engine oil mingled with fresh coffee. Grandfather's already here setting up for our Sunday project. We're building a dining room table big enough for the growing circle of people who actually want to be here. Morning, kiddo. He's arranging clamps with mathematical precision. Thought we'd finish the leg joints today. Perfect timing. I hand him his coffee. Black, 2 sugars. Thomas and Rachel are bringing the kids over later. They can help sand. We work in comfortable silence, measuring twice, cutting once. Through the open garage door, I watch neighborhood children chase each other past my fence. Their parents used to hurry them along back when the lawsuit made headlines. Now they wave, letting their kids stop to pet Maple through the slats. Saw your father yesterday, Grandfather says, suddenly testing a joints fit at Henderson's Hardware. My hands stay steady on the wood. How'd that go? Aged 10 years, I'd say, said them have. He adjusts his grip on the plane. Marlene was there too. Kept looking at throw pillows like they held life's answers. I remember the designer pillows in their perfect house arranged just so. The way Sabrina would rearrange them when stressed while I tracked our family spending and secret spreadsheets. Heard Sabrina's in Oregon now. I offer some artist collective running again. He shakes his head. Your aunt's not doing well either. Blood pressure's through the roof. According to the gossip at church, the wood grain beneath my fingers tells a clearer story. Growth rings, marking seasons of plenty and want. Strength built through adversity. We shape it carefully, honoring its natural character while creating something new. Later, as autumn's sun warms the backyard, friends gather for what's become our tradition, the Sunday potluck. Thomas's kids chase Maple, while Rachel sets up lawn games. My coworker Sarah, who stood by me through the worst of the lawsuit, arranges flowers from her garden. Hard to believe it's been a year, she says, stepping back to admire her work. A year since I bought this house. The memories surface. Empty rooms echoing with possibility then threat. Now every space holds purpose. My home office with its promotion-worthy projects. The workshop where Grandfather teaches me patience. The garden where Mrs. Chen shares her wisdom about more than just plants. Grandfather rises, tapping his glass for attention. To this home, he says simply, and the woman who built it not just with lumber and nails, but with courage and truth. The toast ripples through my chosen family neighbors' friends, the cousins who chose connection over convenience. Even Maple barks her approval tail wagging as children sneak her bits of hot dog. That evening, after the dishes are done and leftovers distributed, I join Grandfather on the porch swing. Maple sprawls at our feet, worn out from playing referee to the kids' soccer game. You didn't just protect your house, he says quietly. You defended your worth. Through the windows, I can see the dining room table we're building, still unfinished but already promising. Like everything worthwhile, it takes time and attention to detail. Some prices are worth paying for peace, I reply. The stars emerge as night settles, casting gentle light on my transformed home. Inside, Sarah and Rachel are setting up board games, their laughter drifting through screen doors. Thomas helps his youngest with homework at my kitchen counter. Mrs. Chen's lights glow next door, her silhouette visible as she waters her evening primrose. My phone buzzes. A text from the young analyst I'm mentoring at work. She's leaving her financially abusive marriage. Needs advice on building credit. You showed me it's possible, she writes. I think of that terrified woman who first walked into Judge Martinez's courtroom clutching papers and desperate certainty. She's still here, that core of steel strengthened by fire. But now she's surrounded by people who recognize its worth, who add their own strength to the alloy. The security system chimes softly, all secure. But the sound no longer triggers anxiety. Instead, it reminds me of boundaries earned and kept, of peace protected and shared. Maple's head lifts at approaching footsteps, just the guy, neighbor's teenager, coming to ask if she can walk her tomorrow. Same time as usual, she calls. We're working on her leash manners. Perfect. I answer, another small thread in the tapestry of normal life, woven from trust and consistency. Grandfather squeezes my shoulder as he heads in to claim his favorite armchair, the one we refinished together now, permanently placed in my living room. His tools live in my garage now, his wisdom in my daily choices. Inside, the game night is getting competitive. Outside, crickets tune up for their evening symphony. And here on my porch, in this space between what was and what is, I breathe in the peace I've built. Some say family is who you're born to, but I've learned it's who you choose to become, and who chooses to witness that becoming with love and respect. Every laugh from my living room, every wave from a neighbor, every shared meal and project and quiet moment. These are the true measures of home. The stars wheel overhead, constant as truth, bright as possibility. Tomorrow will bring its own challenges. But tonight in this house, I earned and shared and filled with genuine connection. I am exactly where I need to be. What defines family, after all? Is it blood and obligation, or is it the people who celebrate your growth while respecting your boundaries? In my experience, it's the latter that builds the strongest foundations.